6:35 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Day?
Present.
Mr. Major?
Present.
Mr. Lucas? Present. Mr. Khan?
Present.
Mr. O'Day? Present. Mr. Chowdhury? Present. Thank you.
I call this meeting of this joint special meeting of the Hamtramck City Council to order. Today is Thursday, December 7th, and it is 6:35. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Mayor Maskey.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Mia.
Present.
Councilman Karpinski.
Present.
Councilman Hassan. Councilman Almasmari. Councilman Parada let us know he wasn't going to be here. Councilman Musa let us know, absent. That is not a quorum, Madam Mayor. No business can be conducted.
Well, we weren't going to be conducting
Understood.
business anyway, so it doesn't really affect that duty. Then all rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening. I'm Thomas Nichai, Superintendent of Schools.
Switched.
Along with Kathy Maynard, we will be leading this meeting. I'd like to just quickly introduce the facilitator. Our facilitator is Dr. Len Mazursky. He works for Wayne County RESA. If you're not sure what Wayne County RESA is, it's a service industry that provides professional development, instructional service support, software applications for school and district administrative services, purchasing, and more. And what's key about RESA is through this joint cooperation, $35 million has been saved throughout the districts of Wayne County. And it shows that the power of partnership and working together. Dr. Mazursky was the superintendent for Northville for 20 years. He did a whole lot with Northville Township to bring that together, and he's been working with Hamtramck Board of Education for 3 years. He services school districts throughout Wayne County, and we're very fortunate he's agreed to be our facilitator.
And in addition to our council members, on behalf of the city, I would just like to welcome everyone here to this meeting. We also have our city clerk, August Gitschlag, here, as well as our chief of police, Ann Moyce, our city planner, Melanie Markowitz, and our city attorney, Mr. Steve Hitchcock. In addition, former council member Robert Zwolak is in the audience tonight. And we just wanted to thank the Hamtramck Public School Board for agreeing to meet together. I know that our city council is excited about that and looking forward to an exciting and wonderful meeting.
Okay, with that being said, Dr. Mazursky will go over the meeting guidelines.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. It's my pleasure and honor to be here. I am very excited about this opportunity. As Tom had mentioned earlier, my experience in Northville afforded me the opportunity on 3 different occasions to work with the city elected official, township, and the Chamber of Commerce to create a common bond on a vision for the future of that school district and that community. And from that experience, frankly, after all those torrential discussions on items, we never looked back. Many of the common agreements that saved money and somewhat related, as Tom mentioned earlier, for the entire county, our district and our city and township equally saved money because we enrolled one aspect of cooperation through the joint efforts, one after the other. Now, I can also tell you that it didn't just happen from the first meeting. It happens in a progressive set of steps that you go through to maintain your interest, your excitement, enthusiasm, and frankly, your fidelity to want to have this happen for Hamtramck community. And that's the thing I sense from all of the issues I've heard from the Board of Education and the superintendent about why this is such an important opportunity to bring together these 2 elected bodies of individuals. So with that said, let me give you the kind of guidelines that we've agreed to in our discussions preset this meeting. There will be no motions or resolutions voted on this evening, so that's therefore not in a formal elected meeting to where that's going to happen. Secondly, by agreement, this joint special meeting will end at 8 p.m., just to be clear about that, so that we're not all of a sudden looking unfriendly and getting up and walking out, but that was the joint agreement. And if you would like, as a citizen, to make a comment, please note that this will be an opportunity for citizens to comment or question anything on agenda item 14. And there are cards that we request that you fill out so that you can be properly addressed and looked at, and can be looking at the question or comment you're raising. And those are available, I think, at the corner of that table. Thank you. Each elected board member and council member will be asked to speak somewhat briefly to any topics or discuss points raised, so that the clarification can help the process move forward. Because from our meetings, and that I mean Tom and Kathy, we've had the opportunity to review a whole treasure trove of items, and the issue is how can we blend them all together to create a common path to move forward with this vision. So what I'm asking you now, and hopefully I've been clear, and what we'll ask by consensus, and that would be kind of the gentle nod of heads, do you agree that these guidelines, you understand the guidelines and you agree to them? Thank you. So we can move on to number 6, the purpose of the meeting. From our discussions, again, and the information that I've been afforded to read that both Tom and Kathy brought forward, it is clear that the emphasis here, at least one of the intended outcomes, is to seek funding, and in our parlance in the schools, that would be either federal or state grants, or seeking a foundation, as an example, to develop a joint master community plan on the use of park properties. And that's a pretty significant endeavor to undertake, but it's one that apparently both sides feel that there's great possibilities in this remarkable endeavor, and both Tom and Kathy will lay out some examples of that as we move along in this meeting. Okay, so the purpose is that to develop eventually, not tonight, but eventually, a joint master community plan on the use of parks and park properties. Is the purpose for this meeting, by consensus of both boards, acceptable? Thank you very much. Now, we'd like to do the number 7, introduction of topics. And again, here, there's a whole wealth of ideas that both the school district and the city are involved in and with on behalf of the citizens of the Hamtramck community. And then again, examples, further to example, wise use of taxpayer money being implemented so that there's more activities for the community members, parents, children, etc., to enjoy in the Hamtramck community. So with that, both have provided, or will provide, some brief overviews.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Mazursky. I'd like to begin by first thanking Kathy Anker, the mayor, and the city council on behalf of the school board for coming together to reach an agreement for the Winter Globe. The Winter Globe program that was held last week was absolutely great. The streets were filled with joy, with kids screaming, with joy and laughing. We did get one little child got hurt ice skating, but other than that, it went out flawlessly. And we were pleased that the Hamtramck Public School kids had an opportunity to sing, the carriage ride. It's an example when we put, previously there was a separate Winter Globe, and then a tree lighting ceremony put on by the city. And look what happens when we join as partners. A whole lot more happens. And we're very, very thrilled about that. The Board of Education wants to partner with the city, and we believe that the city wants to partner with the schools. So, with that being said, I'm just going to, at that back table, there's this green sheet of paper. These are the activities, these scheduled activities that Hamtramck Public School, that occur on the Hamtramck Public School property. So at Playfair Park, there's varsity baseball, junior varsity baseball, Little League baseball, there's a 10 and under team, 12 and under, 14 and under, adult kickball, adult softball, and the practice for all various teams. We have a whole lot of young kids playing on the Mark City Play Skate and the Mitchell basketball court. What's not on here, though, is the free play by kids. Just going out there, whether they're playing soccer, for the most part there is soccer, but the basketball courts are filled morning to night, even after night, with kids playing basketball. The Karpinski Place Gate during daylight hours is just teeming with kids, and we're real excited about that, and we're making, I believe, is very good use of the property. But, that is something that also needs to be looked at. So these are just the scheduled events. At Kiewit Stadium, there's a Detroit City Football Club soccer. This has just been an incredible undertaking by the Board of Education. We've been averaging, or the city of Hamtramck has been averaging between 4,000 and 7,000 people coming to these games. The city's teeming with fans, restaurants, bars. You can just follow the Northern Guard on Twitter, and you can see they're meeting at the Yemen Cafe. One time they're meeting at another tavern on Joseph Campo the next night, and just walking all around. It's absolutely tremendous. And the feeling out there, the press that we got, that is a great example of what can happen when people work together. So when the DCFC came to the Board of Education, we realized it was a great partnership. We want to continue that. We want to expand it. We want Hamtramck to be growing. We want it to grow. Also at Kiewit Stadium, we have varsity football, middle school football, varsity soccer, both boys and girls, recreation soccer, Hamtramck Warriors soccer. And again, this doesn't include all the kids out there playing. And you can go out there in the wintertime at 7 a.m. in the morning, and you see kids playing soccer. They shovel the snow, they're playing soccer. I've seen it morning after morning after morning. It's just an incredible sight. It's a great sight. At Veterans Memorial Park, the school district, under the auspice of the recreation department, we have Little League Baseball and girls tennis. With that being said, we'll look at what City of Hamtramck has on the back page.
So, City of Hamtramck has 4 public parks that our city council has been focused on improving. Zussman Park, where we held the very successful Winter Glow tree lighting, and I have to thank Craig Daniels and the Recreation Commission and the folks there, as well as City Hall workers for helping with that. It was a fabulous, like you said, a cooperative event from the first time, and I do know that the school board president was very adamant about making sure we had the ice rink, and we wanted to do that. From the first time we were asked to share the cost of that, we said absolutely, so it worked out really well. Our other parks, in addition to Zussman, are Pope Park, Colbert Gardens Park, and of course Veterans Park, the one we're talking about tonight. All of our parks have scheduled and unscheduled activities that I think is something that when Superintendent Nietzsche spoke about free play, that is something that we want to provide for our community. It's not unusual on a daily basis, and when you say daily, I can say that too, to see soccer playing in Zussman Park. And Zussman Park is not large enough for soccer, but it happens anyway. And we're pleased with that. We want the kids to have somewhere to enjoy themselves. So in addition to the Little League Baseball and girls tennis that are scheduled by the school, and just as a point of interest, that's a cooperative agreement we already do. We already, on an annual basis, Mr. Daniels sends over the Little League schedules, and we put those on the calendar. We don't exchange any money for those. It's just cooperative. There's not, oh, you're renting our park, or, these are our children that we all are raising together in this community. Girls tennis, the school district removes the nets for the winter and stores them so that they'll be in good shape for the next year. I don't ever touch those nets. That happens with the school district because you're the primary user. There's also informal. We have cricket tournaments, we have recreational volleyball. Every Wednesday night you could go to Veterans Park and see about 200 kids playing volleyball on 3 separate portable courts. I mean, it's a big deal and they enjoy it. We do all the parking for the DCFC games on the outfield of that green space. We have the annual Eid prayer services and festival that's hosted there. And the Eid prayer is on 2 separate occasions. We have that. Summer in the City uses the front half of the park and the walking path every year, and that's programmed and that comes out of People's Community Center. And again, that's just a public park that we use. Scheduled events like rallies, private parties at the pavilions, the sports clinic that was hosted. I see Gary Gillette back in there, and the sports clinic that was soccer and baseball. He was one of the primary people with that, as well as others in the room. Family reunions and pickup games of soccer, pickup games of cricket. Kids playing in the tennis court, playing soccer. Is pretty regular, but baseball, softball, all kinds of activity. And so we're just happy to see people using the park, doing walking path. I love sitting out there and seeing young families. The kids are playing, moms and dads are sitting or walking babies around in strollers. And it's one of the nicest things that I've seen.
That's a great overview of just a snippet of things that are going on in these playground areas that are quite vibrant and vital to the community, especially for parents and students. I can personally attest over the last number of years having the opportunity to work with the school board to stop in towards the evening and see anywhere from 50 plus students in Keyworth Stadium. And one of the things that, from my experience, that's amazing is the kids are interacting very well and just loving the outdoors and the opportunity to play soccer, which is the predominant thing I have seen. It is marvelous that I have yet to see a conflict. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't any, but I have not personally witnessed a conflict or an issue where someone had to be brought out there. So I compliment everyone, because obviously it's a supportive environment and one that's good for kids to know that that's okay to be there. And later we'll talk about a major study that we've been involved with that the Hamtramck board was very successful in bringing to Keyworth Stadium at the end of June, and the city and other officials were there. And we'll talk about their research findings, which almost mirror in their studies what we see, or you see, I have seen, at Keyworth Stadium for one. All right, let's move on now to creating common goals, and what does this mean? What we're asking each elected body to do is to consider all the items that you'll be presented this evening, that you'll have an opportunity to, again, briefly this evening, have clarified any issues that is not clear to you, but then subsequently at your respective meetings, then go into this issue more in depth on a joint resolution to whether you're going to create a common effort for the playground properties. You'll have a chance then to discuss, develop respective goals after considering all the issues to support a common community vision on the use of the park properties. And endpoint in mind, that is the purpose, and both bodies need to be comfortable with that wherever you end up deciding to go to apply for the funding to have the master plan developed. The joint efforts, from my experience, have to be absolute fidelity on all parts of the elected officials in order to be persuasive to the organization that you're going to ask funding for to do the master plan. Elected board members on both the city and the Board of Education may select another date, time, and place for another joint meeting that really is encumbered on and not an undue process, but really a realistic one. After at your respective meetings, you had a chance to go into this more clearly. But from our discussions, the opportunity to consider another joint meeting for the community to see what you've come up with and where you are isn't also something that should not be considered, but that's up to both bodies. All right, resource alignment. In our discussions, we've looked at efforts that both the city and the school district have done that can bring together shared efforts to potentially implement a common shared vision for the parks properties for the community. So, Kathy.
So just a couple of things that the city has been already working on. The city council knows this, and I know that school board members pay attention to what we're doing, and we pay attention to what you're doing. But just for the sake of everyone to be on the same page, a couple of things that the city has done over the last few years. The city created a master plan for just the Veterans Park. It didn't include your space at all. And now we're excited to talk more about the shared spaces that we all enjoy. But to that end, we've invested about $700,000 of CDBG money and other monies, donations, volunteer efforts, and donations to build the playscape at the front of Veterans Park that you now see people playing on. When I first came to the city about 5 years ago, there was no play equipment in the front of the park. There was a small playground toward the old ice rink, and the dasher boards were up on the ice rink, and it was pretty dilapidated. We built the new playscape along with benches and that say Hamtramck on them, and a nice play area in the front. We built a pavilion, that was all donated, and that cost about $15,000. It was donated, building and labor. Most recently, City Council approved for Veterans Park a multi-sports play surface to place over the old ice rink. Last year, we removed the dasher boards with volunteers, took down and cut down the old piping that was on it, and now it's just been a flat surface there. Now we'll put a portable playscape on there that can be used for arena soccer. And it will have dasher boards around it, and that will be placed there. We also, and that'll cover up that blighted, aging ice rink. I mean, that has just been an eyesore. We also have donated volleyball courts that we're storing the materials till the right time to install them. We just have not done that yet. The playscape for the ice rink will be installed in the spring. But that total investment from the city, and that started back in the 14-15 fiscal year, total about $700,000 that we've invested into improving our parks. Another thing that I know you've read about in the newspaper, and I know it's going to be in the newspaper this week in the review, is the pre-development planning that we're doing for the stadium. Thanks to a lot of efforts for a lot of years, and now most recently with our city planner, we were able to obtain a grant for our stadium, a $50,000 grant for planning and talking about the pre-development planning so that we are able to restore that jewel of our Hamtramck Historical Stadium. One of just a few stadiums in the country that was home to Negro League Baseball. That to us is one of the gems of this entire community. Thanks to our Hamtramck Public Schools, the DCFC who has weighed in on this, Native Fields Grounds Crew who's doing mowing, but the largest thank you goes to the Friends of the Historic Hamtramck Stadium, who for many years have been shepherding this and preparing and laying the groundwork for us to be able to apply for $50,000 and obtain that grant. We just awarded the pre-development planning to a firm that is going to take us toward the point where we're going to be able to raise funds and know exactly what we need to do with that space. So that's something that we're proud to share with the community, and it's something that we're very proud that that it started long ago under the leadership of Gary Gillette. Ian Parado was one of our council members, and others, Tom Habits and Ray Skinars. Who am I missing, Gary?
You mean on our board?
Yes.
We have Deborah Walker here. She
Yes,
stand
thank
up
you.
and say hello.
Thank you.
And we have Mike Wilson.
Yes.
Mike Wilson,
Yes.
formerly of Woodbridge Baseball Academy.
Exactly.
We have Lena Fernandez, daughter of Chico Fernandez, former Tigers shortstop, and first black player for the Philadelphia Phillies. Let's see. And Paul Welch.
Oh, Paul Welk, yes, our
Welk.
former fire chief.
Yeah.
So thank you for, and Superintendent Nichai.
I'm sorry.
You are coming.
Tom has so many roles, I sometimes forget.
That's right, sometimes it blurs, we have so many. But anyway, that is a huge community undertaking that already has the cooperation of the school district, and we're proud of that. So that's something those are the things we're working on at this point, and those things will go forward as we continue this work.
And from the school district, the resource alignment, during my presentation, I did not talk about Pulaski Park. The school district owns Pulaski Park. There's not a person in this room that is familiar with Hamtramck that doesn't know what a beehive of activity that place is throughout the year. Most of it good. Occasionally we have incidents where we have incidents that aren't good, but through the cooperation of the police department and the city, we get it solved. And we're proud of that the city came forth and Mr. Hassan came with a group to do a painting on a building there. We recognize these GM volunteers from Pontiac, and we're very proud of that, and it's great. But the reason I mentioned that is simply because what we want to do here, and part of my job here, is to ratchet up the excitement and the need for this. The reason the focus is on Playfair, Keyworth, and Veterans Park is I firmly believe, have an opportunity to make this a truly gem. That whole complex. So if we can have baseball, cricket, soccer, we want to expand Keyworth, for example, or I should say DCFC wants to expand Keyworth, possibly. For that to happen, though, we need to work together. We need to have a master plan. We can have between 8,000 and 10,000 people coming to the city of Hamtramck between March right through to the end of September. That can really happen. But for that to happen, we have to come together and work together as a community, as a team. That's what we want to have happen. We can't have isolated pockets of silos. And, as we get to the next part of the agenda, when it comes to handouts, as a matter of fact, I just jump into that right now, if I may do so. We need, and I believe the Board of Education, we need the City Council and the Board of Education. There's a call for leadership. It's on the back table. This comes directly from the state of play. If we follow these 5 steps, we will be following the best research out there in order to build a gem where, the vision, at least my vision, and I know it's a vision of numerous people, is have a sign there on I-75 and 94. You see this historical museum exit. We need to have a Keyworth Stadium exit there. We need to have a Hamtramck Stadium exit there. We need to build this city. And the only way we can build this city is through leadership. And the leadership of the City Council, the leadership of the board is vital. Follow this. It is truly a roadmap to what to do. We need to connect stakeholder silos. No more silos. Back in the day, the city of Hamtramck asked the school board to cut grass. Bob Zulak's in the office, he remembers that. We cut the grass for free. City council felt we were doing a good job. We were along the fence line, there were weeds there, and the city council, Kathy Anger, took me out there and said, well, let's fix this up. And I'm saying to myself, gee, we're not paying you anything. And there's a part of the city council, that was saying, well, gee, you need to have some say in terms of what happens with the recreation funding. We went through all that. We've gone down that road. The time for that stuff is over. There are things that happen with the board, there are things that I'll take responsibility for, but there's a new day here in Hamtramck. And that new day is Hamtramck Stadium, Keyworth Stadium, Playfair. We need to come together. Follow this. It's a call for leadership. Bring play closures to where the children lead. It doesn't, and please, you need to read it. And for forever, we've been, what they're telling us to do, we don't ask the kids what they want. We don't ask the community what they want. There may be silos or small groups of people there that, come to the school board, come to the city council. We want this, we want that. But there truly needs to be an entire plan going out there from a professional organization that is able to truly survey everybody in the community, get their input, and come together with a plan. If that happens, there's a good possibility that there'll be funding for a master plan. If that happens, there's a possibility there could be funding for even more.
Just to interrupt for a second, what's the source of this document?
It's called the State of Play.
Right.
The Ralph Wilson Foundation.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Put together or paid the Aspen Institute to do this research study.
Thank you.
We'll get you more of that. We'll get every one of the council members out of this book. They came to, this presentation was made at Keyworth Stadium right at the end of June 20th. There you go.
Yeah, to follow up a bit on what Tom said, which is great. This is an eye-opener because the Ralph Wilson Foundation CEO came to the county superintendent's meeting in September and presented all this information because it's not only a support for the consideration that this evening embodies, but it also highlights where we're losing kids by health. And they demographically lay out the issues throughout our country. They happened to pick our area. It was the second area in the country that they studied. And the data is pretty overwhelming, that if we don't engage our children more into activities, and as Tom mentioned, the pocket, what they call pocket playgrounds. So it doesn't have to be a place where I gotta take a car ride or a bus ride over. It literally is within walking distance of, which I think many of us recall, years ago was quite common. And there you'd have a pickup game, be it baseball, be it basketball, be it whatever you were doing, or just tossing a ball back and forth or being with your friends. Their point is that in our country, in this area of our country, this is significant because we're affecting the health and well-being of the next generation. And we can't, literally, we can't afford not to pay attention to this, because it won't heal itself. And what we'll do, as their data points out, is we'll have more kids just hide, behind the computers, behind the smartphones, isolate, not connect and communicate out. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the brilliance of what I've seen at Keyworth Stadium, my glory. 5 times that, and that should be highlighted for many districts. That's just a great thing. And that's what this group research shows, and something that we should clearly heed.
So when we're talking about this, the whole idea that we're talking about, we'll go back to the purpose of our meeting and why this is important, is because we have an opportunity here as leaders in our community to make a difference for the children that live here, for the families that live here, for the businesses that are here. Because when we attract people to our community, as Superintendent Nichai said, like through the DCFC, it's good for all the businesses here. And when the economy of the city is good, it's good for the school district, it's good for our housing market, it's good for our neighborhoods. When Dr. Zmirski is talking about pickup games in the neighborhood, one of the things that I like to tell about Mr. Nichai is that the first person that I called when I came to Hamtramck, the first telephone call I made was to that man, to Tom Nichai. I was a school administrator for 12 years, and I learned a long time ago, as much as it's wonderful to be in City Hall, folks, we are not the center of the universe as it comes to, people don't move to cities because of City Hall. They move because there are good schools, and they like to bring their family there, and there's green space for them to enjoy, and there's stores that they can go to buy the things that they want to eat, wear, consume. And so we have to provide that for them. That's on us to provide it. And so this is an opportunity for the Hamtramck City Council, and it's a historic opportunity. And the Hamtramck City Council, the Board of Education, the administrators at both of these places, because it's not just going to be elected. We're going to do a lot of heavy lifting to make this happen, through drawing up resolutions and coming up with, the legal way to do this relationship so that we can seek funds and have our grant writers in our respective property, our business, buildings, in our organizations, thank you, to be able to put together a package and say to foundations, and to say to those that are looking for opportunities that we can present, that we have something good here. So this is the time for us to gather together and build those relationships across these tables. I reached out 4.5, 5 years ago to Tom Nichai, and it took us a little while to trust each other and to say, you know what, I'm not after anything you have, you're not after anything I have, but you know what, we have a synergy that can be valuable for this community. And here we are a few years later, and it's working. So I'm proud to be here tonight, and I know Doctor's going to take us in another direction here.
Well, it's a great opportunity, again, for me not to minimize at all, to see a community that wants to choose to come together on a common vision. In this regard, a joint committee effort on the use of park facilities is a great, frankly, enormous first start. But I can attest that once this gets rolling with again, fidelity of effort and commitment, I dare say you're going to find over time many more things that will become quite evident and clear, and become quite clear to the citizens of Hamtramck, that you as our elected officials are leading us into the future, and that this is a destination certain. I've had the privilege, opportunity on that example to be invited to at least 2 different soccer games. And over my career, I've been to a number of soccer games. None like the one at Hamtramck.
That's true.
I've been to them and I thought, well, kind of calm. I couldn't even walk, I could park it on Hanley. I couldn't walk up without meeting people whose faces were painted, who were handing me a sign to carry into the stadium. And I'm asking, and why am I carrying this sign in? I don't even know what it means. But the excitement was there. And obviously, it's contagious. And obviously, it's a destination certain. If all these folks that I know tell me about Keyworth and they're coming to the games, you all have something going here that's great, and you're branding a message and an image.
Can I mention one
Sure.
thing too, real quickly? We're looking for that same kind of energy and excitement at Hamtramck Stadium. And so we're at the front end of that. I mean, you had the gem of Keyworth, you know, and you're already a couple years ahead of us in that. So how exciting will it be when that same kind of energy happens when we have an event at Hamtramck Stadium? It's going to be a joyous day for all of us that are in the room here and all the people, you know, from the city to also participate in that. So that's, you know, to be in that proximity, to have those 2 gems, my gosh, I don't know that any other city has anything like that in that kind of proximity.
And just to emphasize the importance of the partnership, Kathy and Len were talking about working together, and it's absolutely true. The time is clicking. The clock is ticking. We need to make a deal. We need to come together now. We need to move forward. The time for talk is over. We need to actually, as separate bodies, agree that, yes, we are going to be honest, formal partners, and we will let people that know more than we do come in and give us some real good advice that we will follow. And he's a perfect example for that. When he came here, the advice he gave me using village elections, the thing about the soccer game is true. I mean, he came in with a shirt and tie and his Risa badge, and he sat in front of the guys with the painted face, and they're cheering the F word, or chanting the F word. And here's Dr. Mazursky, you know, and I mean, it's just incredible. But then by the same token, when the Ralph Wilson Foundation was doing a public announcement or a press conference at Keyworth Stadium, invited Dr. Mazursky. And from there, and we talked about it earlier, how we best prepare it. Our Director of Finance, Sherry Lyme, says, okay, let's get together, spend a little money. Mrs. McBriar says, we got to get him t-shirts, we got to get him t-shirts. So, you know, we have these Keyworth t-shirts, Hamtramck Stadium. We blew them away. We blew the Ralph Wilson Foundation away. I'm not making that up. We blew them away. Dr. Mazursky was savvy enough to talk to David Enninger, convince him to come down to Risa to talk to every superintendent in the county. So the leadership that this man is providing in terms of working together, you know, between a school district and a public body is no joke. And let's make this happen. We have to make it happen. The days of, you know, me being angry because I'm being criticized for cutting the grass the wrong way or something, or the day where the city goes, well, we're paying city taxes and we don't have any say in what's going on. All that, we have to put that behind us, or else we'll never get anywhere. We have to, you know, that's gone. We need to move forward.
All right, let's talk about next steps. Then I would like to open this up to board members and city council members on what you've heard, because you have received significant amount of information that you knew a great deal about, but maybe not as intensely as presented from both perspectives this evening. This, again, this joint special meeting is an outstanding opportunity to establish the framework to go after a joint resolution, to then go after the funding, and whether that's Ralph Wilson, or as I mentioned at the beginning, there's also federal and state grants and foundations So it isn't to put all of one's eggs in one basket. But the key is, again, from experience, that what you do craft together is so well designed and so well supported by both elected bodies that it's an overwhelming door opener for whomever the funding is being sought from. And that's your endpoint in mind. So if it's $50,000 or $100,000, whatever it may cost to do a master plan for the community of Hamtramck, it is well worth that endeavor and effort to then have a game plan that you all can follow. As both have mentioned the use presently of all the park properties in the community now, and can only get bigger and better. So comments from board members, city council members?
Yeah, if you don't mind. So, we're a small community, and we all know each other. We all have relationships with each other of one kind or another. And so I think that we're in a good position, because we've built those relationships in a small community like ours, to work together, to recognize our common goals, to share a common vision, and to speak honestly with each other and openly with each other. When we do run into problems, inevitably, that we have a relationship of trust that we can speak to each other. And I hope that folks in the audience will also feel that as this process goes forward, and we're asking for everyone's opinions about, how should we do this? What should this master plan entail? What do you want to see in the parks? That we're all able to speak to each other honestly and openly. And I think that we'll find that it's not a hard sell to articulate our shared goals and values and desires for the community. I think we're in a special place too right now to do this. I'm really anxious to get started. There's a moment in history, right, where impulses and trends and energy comes together, and I think we're at that place for Hamtramck. So between the stuff that's going on at Keyworth, with Hamtramck Stadium, with just the community at large, with all the buzz that's going on here, my goodness, this is a really, really exciting place to be right now. And we've got a chance here to concentrate some energy on this one particular corner that's just going to feed into that excitement and build that excitement. So, I'm not sure what the process is as we go forward. I know we need some, probably a resolution of support, from each of our bodies, et cetera. So I'll be looking to your guidance for just what it is that we need to do to proceed. But I think the energy is here, and the commitment is here to do this. So, and if I could also read, so that's from me. But I also have a letter from Councilman Parada, if I could read that. So please excuse this dear school board, council and residents, please excuse my absence from this meeting. I'm unfortunately unable to attend due to a final for my taxation class. Well, we want to make sure he passes that class. I do believe it's important to create a dialogue between the Hamtramck City Council and the Hamtramck Public Schools Board of Education. I hope that this will be just the first of many meetings to come, no doubt. While I can't speak to the specifics of all the topics on the agenda, one with which I'm familiar is Hamtramck Stadium. As a founding member of the Friends of Historic Hamtramck Stadium, the organization working to restore the grandstands, I've worked for many years with fellow FHHS board member and HPS Superintendent Tom Nichai to see this project come to fruition. Because of Superintendent Nichai's involvement with both this project and the successful renovation of Keyworth Stadium in participation with the Detroit City Football Club, I encourage my colleagues to strongly consider his input on this matter. I'm confident that his recommendations will utilize his experience and knowledge to ensure the best possible outcome for Hamtramck. I'm excited to see the outcome of this meeting and look forward to working with Hamtramck Public Schools on this project and others in the future. No surprise, right? We love what's going on.
Money. One of the criticisms, well, this guy that's all he talks about is money, so talk about money, one track mind. Keyworth would not be what it be without the partnership of the Detroit City Football Club. They put in close to $1 million. Because of that, we had the best graduation that I can ever remember, simply because the PA system worked, the seats weren't falling apart, and it was serious situation. It can get even better. Veterans Park, there's holes in the ground. The steam is falling apart. This is going to take a lot of money. And the only recommendation that I really have is that we agree to have someone like a Ralph Wilson Foundation come in and do a study for us, and with a joint agreement here with the Groin, we're hoping that they will pay for some of this. And that may happen, it may not happen. But I think that's the way to try. We're not going to put our eggs in one basket, and Len is constantly coaching me about everything from meetings to how to introduce himself. But by the same token, we need to make sure that we don't let this go by. Ralph Wilson Foundation has billions. Okay, they approached the city of Hamtramck. That's how the school district, they approached the city of Hamtramck and says, you know what, maybe we can, do a study here. Maybe we can do that, and then if that happens, we might pay for it, and maybe we can, pay for some other things. We're not going to fix Veterans Park by small grants. We're not going to fix it by donations. We're not going to fix it by the great work of Gary Gillette having, parties and bars and coming up with several $1,000s. It's not going to happen. We need a whole lot of money. And the only way I see us getting it is through Ralph Wilson.
And I think the only way to appeal to an organization like Ralph Wilson or any of the others that might be out there to partner is by showing that we're united.
Yes.
So I would like to say I'm very excited about the collaboration with the city. It's amazing. Just my years on the Board of Education, I've learned what it means when a body of people come together and work together in collaboration for a goal and a long-term goal. We as the Board of Education have been able to solve a lot of issues, a lot of problems, not just financially, but with infrastructure and other issues by working together as a collaborative, unified board. No individual silos, no personal agendas, but the agenda being the children and the community. So it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm very excited to extend and to have that open arms, to have a joint collaboration with the city, to show what Hamtramck can become. We hear people sometimes saying what Hamtramck was. I want to show people what Hamtramck is and what it can become. People constantly come in and criticize our city because of how different it is in their eyes. To us, it's not different, it is our city. So we as a people, as a unified people, as a Board of Education, City Council, all bodies can come together and really show not just Hamtramck, not just the surrounding area, but really everywhere and anywhere anyone goes, not just in the U.S., but overseas. There's always that time when you mention Hamtramck, somebody there has heard of this little tiny city in Michigan, and people relate to it, or people know something about what Hamtramck is or what Hamtramck was. So with that being said, we have the ability to be great. We are great, and we can take it to the next level. We can work together for a common vision for the community as a whole, collaborate. We have this wonderful opportunity with the Wilson Foundation, and make it work, and put us on the map. I mean, we're on the map, but put us on the map with a greater purpose. You have people that move from certain areas to, let's say, Warren or Sterling Heights. Warren has a big community. the center. Sterling Heights is building a brand new one at Dodge Park around the city hall. We have this opportunity for our city, not to do just that, but to do it better. To show them what is possible and how we can do it together. So I look forward to meeting again. I look forward to not just talking, but acting and moving forward. So thank you.
I'm excited about this. I'm kind of unique in that I sit on this board, but I'm also an employee of public schools, so, yeah.
She's the glue.
She's our conduit.
I'm a lifelong resident here. My uncle was on the school board. So this is inspiring. I think this meeting, whether we had a specific project, I think it should have happened a long time ago. It should be happening on a regular basis. So I'm excited about this, and I feel like I'm a family member of the whole team. So I'm very excited about this project and more projects to come. So, and I think City Council can learn a lot from the school board. So, putting that out there.
I am also very excited. As big and as grandiose and remarkable as this particular possibility is around the South End redevelopment, and how much work it will take and how much effort we're all going to have to put in starting tomorrow on that, I'm also thinking beyond that and how the successful collaboration on this is essentially our test, it can be our springboard for so many more developments in our city. I mean, between the school system and the city of Hamtramck, the number of employees, property, owned, managed, people reached on a day-to-day basis. I mean, they're outside of maybe the DHS office and some of the religious institutions. I mean, these are the absolute hub institutions in the city that touch so many people on a day-to-day basis. And if we have some sort of mechanism to plan and collaborate and execute on stuff beyond park space, on traffic, on safety, safe routes to schools is something that we talk about and hear so frequently from our parents and our students, and what we need desperately to work together on. There's no reason that 2 square miles can't be the walking, biking, skateboarding mecca of the United States for every kid, wherever they need to go at any time of day. It already is so beautiful. I walked here tonight from a few blocks away and past kids and families on a 25-degree evening with snow flurries in the air, getting from where they need to be. And people already feel that safety, but there's no reason that we can't build those amenities out so that it's somewhere that is desirable because of that, not in spite of that. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm committing myself to work on making this collaboration happen, and but with an eye towards all of the future ones.
I just wanted to say, moving forward, one thing we all need to keep in mind is we're not doing this, for our own good. We're doing this because we're all elected by the people of the city. Everything we do should be about the community. Nothing should be put into any kind of jeopardy because anybody has, personal issues with whatever we're talking about. If there's something that's going to be bothering somebody, we need to have that out in the open. Nobody should go, feeling like something is not accomplished from a meeting because, this is something we need to do for the city because, this, like you said, this should have been done a long time ago. And hopefully this is going to be the first step in a long relationship, and we can do a lot of good things together.
Thank you all. First of all, thank you all for coming on a nice, beautiful evening. To all the board members, dignitaries, I want to say, I had a few conversations with Mr. Major over the last year or so. I always entertain the discussion with you. And I think the last one you mentioned it, about setting up this meeting or having this meeting, and my first words out of my mouth was like, let's do it, figure out how we can facilitate that. So I'm glad it actually happened. Just to give you a little background on whether it's council or school board, all of us have one objective, is to make Hamtramck better for our next generation. And we all work in our own unique ways. I'm going to share a little bit on some of the things that I've done and how I look forward to working with the board and everybody else. We was fortunate to put a cricket pitch in Veteran Park, but funding for the carpet has been a challenge. And I see a friend of mine is sitting over here, was one that jumped up and said, you know what? And I'm going to say it, Mr. Wula is here, offered to spend or offered to contribute $500 for that carpet. And those are some of the things that I advocate for. And if some of you are not aware, there's another cricket pitch at Lasky Recreation Center right on the other side of Hamtramck. And there's about 16 teams that reside pretty much in Hamtramck or in the vicinity of Hamtramck in Detroit, all the players. And they're talking about bringing a tournament from the outside, bringing teams from Chicago and New York to come out and play. And I'm trying to get this park or our park set so that some of those games can actually happen in Veteran Park. Not all of it in Lasky Recreation Center. So those are some of the things that we've been working on. And looking at how, and hopefully in the near future, how Veteran Park, Hamtramck Stadium, Keyworth Stadium, like you said, Mr. Nichai, having 4,000 to 6,000 to 8,000 people come out for the DFC game. How about maybe having 4,000 to 8,000 people come out to, watch maybe a national cricket tournament here? How wonderful that would be. So those are some of the things that I know maybe not everybody hears everybody's ideas and what everybody's doing, but I'm glad we're sitting amongst or across from each other and we can share some of these things so that it's not as board member, as you say, let's get it out. If we have some differences, if we have questions, and that goes for the community as well. We've always been transparent. We always welcome the questions. Because if the question is not asked, then we'll never know where we're going. We'll have a direction of where we need to go. So I'm looking forward to working with everybody that's here. And I'm pretty sure you guys have a future plan or future agenda. But I want to say, before we leave tonight, let's pick a date for our next meeting. Because it's one thing about thinking about it, and it's a whole different thing about doing about it. And Mr. Nietzsche, I agree. You have a foundation, Wilson Foundation is there. I'm pretty sure there may be one or two other foundations that you may have connection with or contact with that we can also, reach out to, for some funding and to make what we all want is a better community for our future generation, for our children to play, for our families to feel safe. As you say, we want to see more of our residents, our neighbors, our friends being able to walk, to the pocket parks or be able to walk to our businesses and feel safe and feel welcome. A lot of people ask, and I know over the last, year or so or two, people ask, what's so unique about Hamtramck? What's so different? And as Schroeder said, I don't see the difference. This is my home. This is where I'm at. I don't see what uniqueness are you talking about? I know my neighbor, I know my friends, I know, the neighbor across the street been there 60, 70 years. Ever since we moved there, I've known her. So we don't see it as anything new. You know, it's what I do. When I come home, if I see my neighbor, I'm talking to them. I'm not just parking my car and going, you know, inside my property. You know, Mr. J's putting up his lights. As I'm rushing to get here, you know, to grab a change of shirt, I had to stop and, you know, chat for, you know, at least 30 seconds. Where are you going? Going to the Hamtramck Library. And most of you know Mr. J. You know, he's the pastor of the church, and he's very active in Veterans Park with kids. I know they do a lot of activities throughout the whole summer. Those, to me, that's normal. But as, you know, maybe outside people or suburbanites or people that doesn't experience that on a regular basis, they'll be like, wow, you know, it is different. Well, to me, it's not. This is Hamtramck. This is home. So I look forward to working with all of you guys, and I know with Mr. Nichai, Kathy, Doctor, with some guidance and some leadership, I think we can get this project rolling fairly soon and fast. Thank you.
I'm very excited, as everybody's very excited. I see all the excitement coming out from you guys. Everybody had mentioned all the good things and the purpose while we're here. I think I don't want to add and keep saying what everybody said. We need to just go ahead and start work. That's what I wanted to say. And bring the good things to Hamtramck that helps the citizens, the business, and everything. Let's make Hamtramck great. So this is what I wanted to say.
I'd like to say that thank you for city council coming here and board member. We're going to work together, and I'm very excited and look forward to see everything going. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, from this evening. And thank you, Kathy, and from Nichai to make this happen. You just say 5 years to start thinking about this, so finally your dream come true. So, basically, Hamtramck, they sent 2 teams to different places. One place council, one place education. So, Board of Education, we are committed, because my interest in education, I know education is the backbone of the nation. So I try my best with my team, with my colleague, to give the best education to our children. This is my goal. Because if we give the good education to our children, so people, they're not going to think, leave the city, move to Warren, study at another city. If they know our school system result is good, SAT result is good, maybe they come back here to live, they stay here, they study here again. So tonight, I know we don't have no specific agenda, so we bring up the agenda. We look forward to work together, both team, and thank you, everybody. And I live here, I stay here, my success is here.
Can I follow up with one? I did want to follow up because this is a very unique opportunity, and I just want to bring light to something. When Mr. Nichai was approached by DCFC, he saw it as an opportunity for us to do something amazing to solve an issue and a problem that we were searching for a solution. And the opportunity slapped us in the face. And he took it, brought awareness, and brought us on board. And from that point forward, we took a hold of that, we grabbed onto it, and we didn't look back. We moved forward, and we moved forward with an action plan and swift leadership, which now everyone in the community and outside of the community sees what that can equate to. The possibility of restoring a condemned building, a condemned seat. So once again, Mr. Nichai comes to us because opportunity slaps us in the face once again. And this being this time, the Wilson Foundation. There are not very many institutions or organizations or cities for that matter that have been slapped in the face with such opportunities. It happened once with DCFC, and here it is happening again with the Wilson Foundation. So we need to grab a hold of it, act on it, and move forward with it, and make it become truly what it possibly can. So I just want to bring light to that. This is what it is. It is an opportunity, and we can't let it slip through the cracks. We need to make it happen for our community.
You indeed have a genuine excitement here of an issue. I can offer that from being that person from the outside, coming in, looking in. Although I was born in Hamtramck, to be fair, full disclosure. I'm excited by what I see and what I know is going on in this community, and I agree with your comments. It isn't a different group of ethnic individuals. It's one fabric, and that's the quality of this quilt that is truly American. And what you have to do, and what you're starting to do, is to build on that enthusiasm, on that forward visioning, as long as you stay focused on the citizens, the parents, and the kids. I dare say, and I'd be willing to commit, that you will find groups who will want to be the first one to be in line to fund you. As opposed to hand in hand, will you, maybe, could you? In fact, by showing the united common purpose, I believe you will find groups who will bend over. Could we be the ones that have the moniker on the bottom, funded by, to create the master plan? Ralph Wilson, absolutely wonderful, but as a number of you mentioned, there are a significant number of other sources available. You package this up, and I believe you will be surprised at what can happen. Now, not immediately, but with fidelity and effort, I believe you will get into that. So congratulations on supporting this and what you've done and what you stand for. Any other comments? We're going to move to citizen. Right now, as we mentioned at the beginning, this is the opportunity for citizen comment. If you wouldn't mind filling out the citizen comment card so you can be properly addressed, and then the board members on both city and the Board of Education, or whomever, can respectfully answer your questions. Are there any there?
Mr. Bob Zwolak.
Okay.
Wasn't going to pass this up. I got two at one stone.
Especially since this is such a really a special occasion, and I would want to ask everybody here, maybe if, actually a historical question. Does anybody remember or know when the last time the school board and the city officials got together?
No, never.
Do you?
Yes.
This is a quiz.
Well, I don't remember exactly, but I'll tell you who was the moderator at the time. It was Wayne County Commissioner Albert J. Zach.
Oh my God.
And it was held at the Polish American Century Club, which is the Hamtramck Market right now. But the issue at that time was something very similar, and which was the park issue. And that was the Hamtramck Recreation Board at the time, and the parks, and it was, of course, the school was leasing the park, so there was some controversy there. And I can't recall the exact outcome on it, but I know we were still working together after that. But I only touched upon that because that shows you how long it's been since the two bodies have gotten together. This really is a historical event, and I'm glad that I was here to witness it. I wanted to just bring up a couple of points that the city has wanted to work with the school board. I did initiate a couple of years ago back, to instruct our city manager to establish a collaborative relationship with the school board, whether in joint services and maybe collaborative in terms of departments or even outside contractors, that maybe we could join forces to save money and things of that nature. I also want to make note that the city of Hamtramck has a Parks Advisory Commission, of which the school board has 2 appointees to that commission. Unfortunately, it's not active. It's not filled right now. I would really strongly recommend that this would be a time to really get the Parks Advisory Commission up and running so that you've got citizens' participation in that. And again, it's both a city and a school commission that deals with, advising and looking at the parks. And that would give you another source of input from the community. Well, I'm going to ask for a little bit of additional time because, again, and from the perspective, I want to not only comment that Ms. Anger and her responsibilities the past number of years, she's done a tremendous super job with dealing with community black grant monies for the park. And the state of the park really has been a lot to her efforts and the council going along with many of those things. And I want to make a comment that I really appreciate the school board. My wife was a former member of the school board. So I can well appreciate all the material that the school board goes through in reviewing and dealing with all the issues in dealing with the school system. Trust me, you have more work, more responsibility than our council members do. So to you, my hat's off, knowing what you're going through. I personally recommend that you meet on a quarterly basis. That way it gives you time, to develop this particular relationship. Very important. And I just want to say that we're giving Hamtramck a nice Christmas present this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have somebody we'd like to recognize.
Yes, before we go on to the next, gentleman in the back, will you raise your hand, Sean Mann, who's one of the I'd also like to recognize the Hamtramck Warriors. I know Councilman Wales did this in July, and this with I want to hear him, not the single.
To be fair, it's my fault for not mentioning both sides agreed with how many people want to speak, that we limit people or keep them within 2 minutes. Although if there's more time at the end, you can obviously meet folks when they're in the door. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm really excited about you guys collaborate together and this partnership. I just got a quick comment on the Veteran Park. With DCFC hosting so many games, and we have a total of almost 120 kids now in our youth program, and they all attend DCFC games, and this is one of the historic moments for all these kids. Have you guys ever thought about building more soccer fields? As Mr. Nichai accord, there's almost 90, 100 kids in the summer times. In the winter times, they shovel all the snow playing. Have you guys ever mentioned, what about if DCFC wanted to expand and build the stadium bigger, have 10,000 fans, where all these kids aren't going to play at? Keyworth can hold just so much. With the turf, it's already started to get torn apart. And just think about that. That's one thing that we want to do for our other kids. Because there's no soccer fields in Keyworth. There's only one soccer field, which is Keyworth, and that's where everybody knows and attends to. All the others, baseballs. So that's one thing I just wanted to really talk about and mention if you guys ever have a plan for the future. Thank you.
We talk about it quite often.
Just to give you a small amount of information, I don't have a whole lot, but we're potentially looking at 2 more soccer fields. As Kathy mentioned earlier, the new turf that's going to go in at the ice rink, you can also play, soccer on. And the portion of the Veteran Park away from the main baseball diamond, that's going to also have a soccer aspect to it, right?
Well, and part of the reason we're meeting, and much of the reason we're meeting today for both bodies and for the audience, is because we want to use that green space in the best way. If the best place, and I'm just going to throw out, if the best place for export is on the city property, or the best place is on the school property, that's what the purpose of this master plan with both of our green spaces is for. And in doing that, it will be the community giving input about what is the best use of all of that green space. And I know, I can fast forward that soccer will be talked about.
Art?
evening to all of you. It's an honor to be here among you in this joint meeting between Board of Education and Council meeting. I really appreciate Superintendent Tom Nichai for his efforts in this project and his board. That is a great team that they're really improving community actually from short period of time to the next one, and we see Hamtramck in future as well. As Kathy Agner, God bless you for your activities, and Mayor and council members, you're doing a great job, but this is really great appreciation to all of you taking this project in your effort to reboard our city. This is really a wonderful city to live in, which I'm proud to say that I'm in Hamtramck or part of Hamtramck activities. But count on me and Commonwealth Alliance in future on your projects. Include me in that project with Commonwealth Alliance. Whatever we can do as an interfaith organization, and I will align with other my allies in state of Michigan and abroad, that we can bring something to help you in your project. Thank you. God bless you. Also, I would like to thank the library for hosting this historical meeting, and Greg Kirchner, media man, and other media people here from Hamtramck Review. This is an honor to have all of this in a small room in town Hamtramck you have here. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Also, our police chief is here. I would like to say that.
Anyone else?
So we are safe. We are safe.
All right. Hi, Eric Anderson, Coach Little League for 10 member for Hamtramck, also a DCFC investor. Don't forget that it's the supporters of the soccer team that invested in the stadium. So supported it partially because it was not just beneficial to the team, but beneficial to Hamtramck Public School property. So that's exciting. But I kind of want to take a flip side on this. I think parks are always positive in the court of public opinion, but they have been used in the past, not here necessarily, but in other places, to sneak by other types of, not shady dealings, but shady dealings. So even though this is a really exciting opportunity, I advise all of you to be very careful and cautious and transparent about the selection of planning firms, engineering firms, construction firms, making sure that all of the money is used appropriately and that the RFPs are made publicly available and publicly accessible so that people know that these contracts are out. Other thing would be similar to what Mr. Zolak said, encouraging more community engagement in this process. Yes, you need leadership and you need the ability to make decisions, sometimes swiftly, but you also need to listen to the community, right? I'm a baseball coach, but there's a lot of baseball fields, so I hear the soccer team wants more fields. Maybe they don't necessarily want a hockey-sized soccer thing, right? I don't know if that's actually a soccer field, but so try not to just placate citizen demands with something that fits within your budget or your project or your timeline, right? So I encourage you to be transparent, both with the awarding of contracts and to actually actively engage the citizens. Thank you.
Impressive 2 minutes on the shot. That's all I have. Anyone else?
We'd like to thank everyone on behalf of the school board and the city council for being here this evening. As many of you have mentioned, this is indeed a historic event. It has much work yet to be done, but the right path with the right folks, with the excitement and enthusiasm is here. And the direction and leadership to bring this out, I believe, is quite clear. The engagement, as just mentioned, of the citizens is critical to the success of this endeavor. No funding group, Ralph Wilson notwithstanding, would encourage or undertake just a singular decision from a body of people. They will clearly ask, and how did you survey the community of citizens, which we've been mentioning over and over again? How do the parents and how were the students engaged in their input on playground areas? What do they want? Which is embedded in this study, as Mr. Nichai mentioned, in this entire document. It's embedded, ask the kids. what they want to do and support, you may be quite surprised that it's not so difficult and overwhelming that we as adults can't wisely plan for the future. Because indeed, that's the investment in their future, more so than it's ours. So on behalf of the Board of Education and the City Council, we thank you for coming out this evening and look forward to further meetings and discussions on this matter, and hopefully decisions by the end of this month to some degree, and into the January month so the packages can be.
In that spirit, we have a agreement on an approximate timeline for our next gathering.
As I understood the process next is that both bodies, because there can't be any motions and resolutions here, at your next meeting would be a discussion, respectfully, that all of this would then be filtered out as to what further information might you need. What does some of the language look like that would be a joint example of a joint resolution to form this vision for the future? And then as that comes together, then maybe that's the essence of another joint meeting. And then you can publicly display what both bodies have come together on, which then formulates then the submission, be it Ralph Wilson or whomever you're going to go after. I would suggest that
I know we
roughly
spoke about
January.
it before. We were hoping that our next official meeting would be in January.
Between the bodies?
Yes.
And that would work for us. For the purposes of
What is
Hamtramck
the
City
swearing
Council.
in?
So for the purposes of the Hamtramck City Council, we have a new council member onboarding with us January 1st. We'll have an official swearing in immediately after the first of the year, and a ceremony on the 7th here in this library on Sunday afternoon, and you're all welcome to attend that. We have our organizational meeting on January 2nd, and so that's when we set our city council meeting dates and time and the rules of engagement for those meetings.
For that year.
And yes, so January 2nd, that happens. But, you know, I can either work with Mr. Nietzsche to figure out a date that works with all of you and with council, or we can select something tonight if you want to do that, Mr. Nietzsche.
Our organizational meeting will be on January 10th. We always do it at our first meeting. No, because the 17th, because of break, the 17th.
So what?
Normally it's the second Wednesday of the month, but it's being pushed to the 17th.
Perhaps we could
work
come together with a joint resolution. We are meeting on December 13th as Board of Education, and we would adopt something that
Would we be open to meet on the 10th since we don't, but no. Would we be open to meet on the 10th since we don't have an organizational meeting? Could we possibly have a joint meeting on that day?
Well,
I was going to say, let Mr. Nietzsche
Try to
and
communicate.
Kathy
Yeah.
pick a date and
Let's work
what
together.
works for both.
Yeah, we were able to pull this one
Yeah.
off.
I'd
So I'm
rather
gonna suggest we could do
let
that.
them figure it out and put something in the books,
Yes.
because once we have a date, then we can move on.
But do we all agree on January?
I agree.
And we want to include our new council member as well,
Definitely.
so that's a big piece of that. So we'll look at our schedule and we'll compare, and then, Mr. Nietzsche, we, just by way of full disclosure, we have a council meeting next Tuesday, but we won't take action on this. I'm sure we'll have some fond words and member remarks, but we won't take action on anything. We'll work together and come up with the appropriate resolutions.
7:59 and 31 seconds.
I